want to know who we are. We are gentlemen of Japan. On many a lace and John, on many a screen and fan. We need lively paint, or else it's strange and quaint. You're wrong if you think it ain't.
Gentlemen, I pray you tell me where a gentle maiden dwelleth named Yum Yum, the ward of Coco. In pity speak, oh speak, I pray you.
Why, who are you to ask this question?
Come, gather round me, and I'll tell you. A wandering minstrel, I, a thing of shreds and patches, of ballad songs and snatches, and dreamy lullabies. My catalogue is long through every passion ranging, and to your humors changing, I tune my supple song. I tune my supple song. Are you in sentimental mood? I'll sigh with you. Oh, sorrow. On maiden's coldness do you brood? I'll do so too. Oh, sorrow, sorrow. I'll charm your willing ears with songs of lovers' fears, while sympathetic tears my cheeks bedew. Oh, sorrow, sorrow. Doing minstrel, I, a thing of shreds and patches, of ballad songs and snatches, and dreamy lullaby, and dreamy lullaby.
And what is your business with Yum Yum?
I'll tell you. A year ago, I was a member of the Titty-Poo Town Band. It was my duty to take the cap around for contributions. While discharging this delicate office, I saw Yum Yum. We loved each other at once, but she was engaged to her guardian Coco, the cheap tailor, and I saw that my suit was hopeless. Overwhelmed with despair, I quitted the town. Judge of my delight when I found out, a month ago, that Coco had been condemned to death for flirting. I hurried back at once in the hopes of finding Yum Yum at liberty to listen to my protestations.
It is true that Coco was condemned to death for flirting, but at the last moment he was granted a reprieve and raised to the exalted rank of Lord High Executioner, under the following remarkable circumstances. Our great Mikado, virtuous man, when he to rule our land began, resolved to try a plan whereby young men might best be steadied. So he decreed in words succinct that all who flirted, leered, or winked, unless connubially linked, should forthwith be beheaded, 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 should forthwith be beheaded. And I expect you'll all agree that he was right to so decree. And I am right, and you are right, and all is right as right can be.
You are right, and we are right, and all is right as right can be. And all is right as right can be. Right as right can be.
This stern decree, you'll understand, caused great dismay throughout the land. For young and old and shy and bold were equally affected. The youth who winked a roving eye or breathed a non-connubial sigh was thereupon condemned to die. He usually objected. He usually objected. And I think you'll say to argue in this kind of way. And I am right, and you are right, and everything is quite correct.
And you are right, and we are right, and everything is quite correct. And everything is quite correct. All is quite correct.
And so we straight let out on bail a convict from the county jail, whose head was next on some pretext condemned to be mown off, and made him headsman, for we said, who's next to be decapitated cannot cut off another's head until he's cut his own off, until he's cut his own off. And we are right, I think you'll say, to argue in this kind of way. And I am right, and you are right, and all is right to lurelay.
You are right, and we are right, and all is right to lurelay. And you are right, and we are right, and all is right.
Coco, the cheap tailor, Lord High Executioner of Titipoo. Why, that's the highest rank a citizen can attain.
It is. Our logical Mikado seeing no difference between the dignified judge who condemns a criminal to die and the industrious mechanic who carries out the sentence has rolled the two officers into one. And now every judge is his own executioner.
Ah, but how good of you, for I see that you are a nobleman of the highest rank, to condescend to tell all this to me, a mere strolling minstrel.
Don't mention it. I am, in point of fact, a particularly haughty and exclusive person. My family pride is something inconceivable. I was born sneering. But I struggle hard to overcome this defect. When all the great officers of the state resigned in a body because they were too proud to serve under an ex-tailor, did I not unhesitatingly take all their posts at once?
And all the salaries attached to them? You did.
It is consequently my degrading duty to serve this upstart as the First Lord of the Treasury, the Lord Chief Justice, Commander-in-Chief, Master of the Buckhounds, the Groom of the Backstairs, Archbishop of Titipoo, Chancellor of the Exchequer, and the Lord Mayor, both acting and elect, all rolled into one, and at a salary, a poobah, paid for his services, I a salaried minion. But I do it. Oh, how it revolts me! But I do it.
And it does you credit.
But I don't stop at that. No, no, no. I go and dine with the middle-class people on reasonable terms. I sing at cheap suburban parties for a moderate fee. I take refreshment at any hand, however lowly. I also retail state secrets at a very low figure. For instance, any further information about Yum Yum would come under the head of a state secret. Another insult. and I think a light one. Young man, despair likewise go to, yummy yum the fair. You must not woo, it will not do. I'm sorry for you, you very imperfect ablutioner. This very day from school, yum yum, will went away and homeward come with beat of drum and rum tum tum to end the Lord High Executioner. And the brass will crash and the trumpets bray and they'll cut a dash on their wedding day. She'll toddle away, oh pity her, with the Lord High Executioner.
And the brass will crash, and the trumpets break, and the cardinals on their wedding day. She'll toddle away, oh pity her, with the Lord High Executioner.
It's a hopeless case, as you may see, and in your place away I'd flee. But don't blame me, I'm sorry to be of your courage a diminutioner. They'll vow their pact extremely soon. In point of fact, this afternoon, her honeymoon with that buffoon at 7 commences, so you shun her. And the brass will crash, and the trumpets bray, and they'll cut a dash on their wedding day. She'll toddle away, oh pity her, with the Lord High Executioner.
And the brass will crash, and the trumpets bray, and they'll cut a dash on their wedding day. She'll toddle away, oh pity her, with the Lord High Executioner.
And have I journeyed for a month or nearly to learn that Yum Yum, whom I love so dearly, this day to Coco is to be united.
The fact appears to be as you've recited. But here he comes, equipped as suit his station. He'll give you any further information.
Taken from the county jail by a set of curious chances, liberated then on bail, on me own recognizances, wafted by a favoring gale, as one sometimes is in trances, to a height that few can scale, save by long and weary dances, surely never had a male. Under such like circumstances, so adventurous a tale, which may rank with most romances, taken from the county jail, by a set of curious chances, surely never had a male, so adventurous a tale. At ease. Gentlemen, I am much touched by this reception. I can only trust that by strict attention to duty, I shall ensure a continuance of those favors which it will ever be my study to deserve. If I am ever called upon to act professionally, I'm glad to think that there will be no problem in finding plenty of people whose loss will be a distinct gain to society at large. As someday it may happen that the victim must be found, I've got a little list of society offenders who might well be underground and never would be missed, There's the pestilential nuisances who write for autographs, all people who have flabby hands and irritating laughs, and the one who cuts in front of you just like a little brat, all persons who in shaking hands shake hands with you like that, and all who cough or hack or sneeze without a handkerchief, they none of them be missed,
He's got them on the list, and they'll none of them be missed,
There's the sidewalk serenader with his open carry case, and the piano organist, I've got him on the list, and the orchestra conductor who just now has lost her place. She never would be missed, well, perhaps she would be missed, and the people who have snooze alarms that go off while they shower, or students who pack up their books before end of the hour, and the one who can do nothing else but gossip and complain, or those who steal umbrellas so you stand there in the rain. The fellow who can't take a joke, I think you get my gist. I don't think he'd be missed. I'm sure he'd not be missed.
He's got them on the list, and they'll none of them be missed,
There's the one who makes loud noises when you try to go to sleep, though you wish he would desist. I've got him on the list. The one couples who sit way too close with room for just one fist. They none of them be missed. And the roommate who, to spite you, talks forever on his phone, or the one who pries with questions when you want to be alone. And so, and what's his name, and also, you know who. The task of filling up the blanks I'd rather leave to you, for it really doesn't matter whom you place upon the list, for they none of them be missed. They none of them be missed.
You may put them on the list, and they'll none of them be missed,
Pooh-Bah, it seems that the festivities in connection with my approaching marriage must last a week. I should like to do it handsomely, and I'd like to consult you as to the amount I ought to spend upon them.
Certainly, in which of my many capacities As the First Lord of the Treasury, the Lord Chief Justice, Commander-in-Chief, Master of the Buckhounds, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Archbishop of Titipu, Privy Purse, or the Private Secretary?
Suppose we say as private secretary.
Well, speaking as your private secretary, I should say as the city will have to pay for it. Don't stint yourself. Do it well.
Exactly, as the city will have to pay for it. That is your advice?
As the private secretary, of course, you will understand that as the Chancellor of the Exchequer, I am bound to see that due economy is observed.
Oh, but you said just now, don't stint yourself. Do it well.
As the private secretary,
And now you say that due economy must be observed?
as the Chancellor of the Exchequer,
Oh, I see. Well, come over here where the Chancellor cannot hear us. Now then, as my solicitor, how do you advise me to deal with this difficulty?
as your solicitor, I should have no hesitation in saying chance it.
Oh, thank you. I will.
But if it were not that as the Lord Chief Justice, I am bound to see that the law is not violated.
Well, then come over here where the Lord Chief Justice cannot hear us. Now then, as First Lord of the Treasury.
As the First Lord of the Treasury, I could propose a special vote that would cover all expenses. If it were not that as the leader of the opposition, I would have to resist it tooth and nail. But as the Paymaster General, I could so cook the accounts that as the Lord High Auditor, I should never discover the fraud. But as the Archbishop of Titipu, it would be my duty to denounce my own dishonesty and turn myself into my own custody as First Commissioner of the Police.
That's extremely awkward.
I am not to say that all these distinguished people couldn't be squared, but it is right to tell you that they wouldn't be sufficiently degraded in any estimation unless they were insulted with a very considerable bribe.
The matter shall have my careful attention. Oh, but my bride and her sisters approach, and any compliment on your part, such as a polite bow and a characteristic Japanese attitude, would be esteemed a favor.
We shall
Three little maids from school are we, pert as a schoolgirl well can be, filled to the brim with girlish glee. Three little maids from school, everything is a source of fun. Nobody's safe, but we care for none. Life is a joke that's just begun. Three little maids from school. Three little maids who all unwary come from the ladies' seminary. Three from the genius tutelary. Three little maids from school. Three little maids from school. One little maid is a bride, yum yum. Two little maids in attendance come. Three little maids is the total sum. Three little maids from school. From three little maids take one away. Two little maids remain and they won't have to wait very long, they say. Three little maids from school. Three little maids who all unwary come from the ladies' seminary. Three from genius tutelary. Three little maids from school. Three little maids from school.
At last, my bride that is to be.
You're not going to kiss me before all of these people.
Well, that was the idea.
It does seem a bit odd, doesn't it?
It's rather peculiar.
Oh, I expect it's all right. Must have a beginning, you know. Well, of course, I know nothing about these things, but I've no objection if it's usual.
Oh, it's quite usual, I think. Eh, Lord Chamberlain?
I have known it done.
Thank goodness that's over.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Will you present me? One at a time, if you please.
If you please, this is the gentleman who used to play so beautifully on the parade grounds. Yes, I think that was the name of the instrument.
Sir, I have the misfortune to love your ward Yum Yum. Oh, I know I deserve your anger.
Anger? Not a bit, my boy. Why, I love her myself. Charming little thing, isn't she? Pretty eyes, nice hair, taking little thing altogether. Glad to hear my opinion backed by a competent authority. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Take him away.
I beg your pardon, but what is this? A customer to try on.
Oh, that is a tremendous swell.
Oh, it's alive!
Go away, little girls. Can't talk to little girls. Go away there, dears.
Allow me to present you, Pooh-Bah. These are my 3 wards. The one in the middle is my bride-elect.
What do you want me to do to them? Mind, I will not kiss them.
Oh, no. You shan't kiss them. A little bow, a mere nothing. You needn't mean it, you know.
It goes against the grain. They are not young ladies, they are young persons.
Come. Make an effort. There's a good nobleman.
Well, I shan't mean it. Howdy do, little girls, howdy do. Oh, my family pride.
That's very good.
I see nothing to laugh at. It is not like me to go around and saying, howdy do, little girls, howdy do, to young persons. I am not in the habit of going around and saying, howdy do, little girls, howdy do, to anyone under the rank of a stockbroker.
Oh, don't laugh at him. He can't help it. He's under treatment for it. Never mind them. They don't understand the delicacy of your position.
We understand how delicate it is, don't we?
I should think we did. How a nobleman of your importance can do it all is a thing I never can, never shall understand.
Yum, at last we are alone. I have sought you night and day for 3 weeks. in the belief that your guardian had been beheaded. And now I find that you are to be married to him this afternoon.
Alas, yes.
But you do not love him.
Alas, no.
Modified rapture. But why do you not refuse him?
What good would that to do? He's my guardian, and he wouldn't let me marry you.
But I would wait until you were of age.
You forget that in Japan, girls do not arrive at years of discretion until they are 50.
It's true. From 17 to 49 are considered years of indiscretion.
Besides, a wandering minstrel who plays a wind instrument outside tea houses is hardly a fitting husband for the ward of a Lord High Executioner.
But shall I tell her? Yes, she'll not betray me. What if it should prove that, after all, I am no musician?
There, I was certain of it directly I heard you play.
What if it should prove that I am no other than the son of His Majesty, the Mikado?
The son of the Mikado? But why is your highness disguised? And what has your highness done? And will your highness promise never to do it again?
About a year ago, I had the misfortune to captivate Katisha, an elderly lady in my father's court. She misconstrued my customary affability into expressions of affection and claimed me in marriage under my father's law. My father, the Lucius Junius Brutus of his race, ordered me to marry her within a week or perish ignominiously on the scaffold. That night, I fled his court, and I joined the band in which you found me, where I had the happiness of seeing you.
Oh, if you please, I think your highness had better not come too near. The laws against flirting are excessively severe.
But we are quite alone, and nobody can see us.
Still, that doesn't make it right. To flirt is capital.
It is capital.
And we must obey the law.
If it weren't for that, how happy we might be.
Happy indeed.
We could be sitting side by side, like that.
Instead of being obliged to sit half a mile off, like that.
We could be gazing into each other's eyes, like that.
Breathing sighs of unutterable love. Like that. Oh, yes! If it wasn't for the law.
If it wasn't for the law.
As it is, we couldn't do anything of the kind.
Not for worlds.
Being engaged to Coco, you know.
Being engaged to Coco. Were you not to Coco plighted, I would say in tender tones, loved one, let us be united, let us be each other's own. I would merge all rank and station, worldly sneers are not to us, and to mark mine admiration, I would kiss you fondly thus.
He would kiss you fondly thus. But as I'm engaged to Coco, to embrace you thus confuoco would distinctly be no joco, and for that I should give Toco.
Toco,
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 Toco. So in spite of all temptation, such a theme I'll not discuss, and on no consideration will I kiss you fondly thus. Will I kiss you fondly thus? Let me make it clear to you, this is what I'll never do. This, oh this, oh this, Oh, this is what I'll never, never do. This is what I'll never do.
He'll never do.
I'll never do.
He'll never do.
Oh, this is what I'll never, never do.
There she goes. To think how entirely my future happiness is wrapped up in that little parcel. Really, it hardly seems worthwhile. Oh, matrimony! Now then, sir, what is it? Can't you see that I'm soliloquizing? You have interrupted an apostrophe, sir.
I am a bearer of a letter from His Majesty, the Mikado.
Mikado? A letter from the Mikado?
Mikado.
Oh, what in the world could he possibly have to say to me? Oh. Oh, here it is at last. I knew it would come sooner or later. The Mikado was struck by the fact that no executions have taken place in Titipu for a year, and decrees that unless someone is beheaded within 1 month, the post of Lord High Executioner shall be abolished, and the city reduced to the rank of a village.
But that would involve us all in irretrievable ruin.
Yes, there is no help for it. I shall have to execute somebody at once. The only question is, who shall it be?
Well, since you're already under sentence of death for flirting, all things seem to point to you.
To me? What are you talking about? I can't execute myself.
Why not?
Why not? Because, in the first place, self-decapitation is an extremely difficult, not to mention dangerous thing to attempt. And in the second, it's suicide. And suicide is a capital offense.
We might reserve
no
that
doubt.
point.
Besides,
It could be argued.
I don't see how a man can cut off his own head.
A man might try.
Yes, and even if you only succeeded in cutting it half off, that would be something.
It would be taken as an earnest of your desire to imply with the imperial will.
No, pardon me, but there I am adamant. As official headsman, my reputation is at stake, and I cannot consent to embark on a professional operation unless I can see my way to a successful result.
This professional conscientiousness is highly creditable to you, but it places us in a very awkward position.
My dear sir, the awkwardness of your position is grace itself compared to that of a man engaged in the act of cutting off his own head.
I'm afraid that unless you can find yourself a substitute...
Oh, a substitute? Certainly, nothing easier. I'll just go down here and grab a little gentleman and tell him to... Pooh-Bah, I appoint you Lord High Substitute.
Certainly, nothing could realize my fondest dreams. But no, at any sacrifice I must set bounds to my insatiable ambition. I am so proud if I allowed my family pride to be my guide. I volunteer to quit this sphere instead of you in a minute or two. But family pride must be denied and set aside and mortified and mortified.
My brain, it teems with endless schemes, both good and new for Titipu, for Titipu. But if I fit the benefit that I diffuse, the town would lose. Now every man to aid his clan should plot and plan as best he can.
I heard one day a gentleman say that criminals who are cut in two can hardly feel the fate to steal, and so are slain without much pain. If this is true, 'tis jolly for you, your courage screw to bid us adieu.
I am so proud.
My brain it tears with endless schemes of good and true for titty poo. But if I flipped up then and threw that slightest news, the town would move. Now every man who ate his plan should trot and plan as best he can. And so, although I'm ready to go, yet recollect where disrespected I neglect to thus effect this aim direct. So I object.
And so, although I wish to go, and greatly pine and brightly shine, and take the line of a hero fine, with grief condign, I must decline.
And go and show both friend and foe how much you care. I'm quite aware 'tis your affair, yet I declare I take your share, but I don't much care.
I must decline.
Your share, but I don't. So I object. Your share, but I don't. So I object. Your share, but I don't. So I object.
So I object. To sit in solemn silence in a dull, dark dock, in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short, sharp shock from a chippy jumper on a big black block. To sit in solemn silence in a dull, dark dock, in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short, sharp shock from a chippy jumper on a big black block. A dull, dark dock, a lifelong lock, a short, sharp shock, a big black block. To sit in solemn silence in a pestilential prison and awaiting the sensation from a chippy chopper on a big black rock. This is horrible. I, who allowed myself to be respited at the last moment, simply to benefit my native town, am now required to die within a month, and that by a man whom I have loaded with honors. Is this public gratitude? Is this... Go away, sir, how dare you? Am I never permitted to soliloquize?
Oh, go on, don't mind me.
What are you going to do with that rope?
I'm about to terminate an unendurable existence.
Terminate your existence? Nonsense, what for?
Because you're going to marry the girl I love.
Oh, nonsense, sir! I won't permit it! I'm a humane man, and if you attempt anything of the kind, I shall order your instant arrest. Come, sir, desist at once, or I summon my guard.
That's absurd. If you attempt to raise an alarm, I perform the happy dispatch with this dagger.
Oh, no, please don't do that! This is horrible! Why, you cold-blooded scoundrel, are you aware that in taking your life, you're committing a crime which substitute?
What's the matter?
Is it absolutely certain that you're resolved to die?
Absolutely.
Will nothing whatever shake your resolution?
Nothing.
Threats, entreaties, prayers, all useless?
Oh, my mind is made up.
Oh, well, then if you mean what you say, and if you're absolutely resolved to die, and nothing whatever will shake your resolution, don't spoil yourself by committing suicide, but be beheaded handsomely at the hands of the public executioner.
I don't see how that would benefit me.
You don't? Observe. You'll have a month to live, and you'll live like a king at my expense. But when the day comes, there'll be a grand public ceremonial. You'll be the central figure, of course. No one will attempt to deprive you of that distinction. There'll be a band, dead march, bells tolling, all the girls in tears. Yum, distracted. And then when it's all over, general rejoicings and a display of fireworks in the evening. You won't be around to see them, of course, but they'll be there all the same.
Do you really think that Yum Yum will be distracted at my death?
Oh, I'm convinced of it. Bless you. She's the most tender-hearted creature alive.
Then I should be sorry to cause her pain. Perhaps if I were to withdraw from Japan and travel in Europe for a couple of years, I might contrive to forget her.
Yeah, I don't think you could forget Yum Yum that easily. After all, what's more distressing than a love-blighted life?
True.
Life without Yum Yum? Why, it seems absurd.
And yet there are a good number of people in the world who have to endure it.
Yes, you're quite right not to be of their number.
I won't be of their number.
Noble fellow.
I'll tell you how we'll manage it. You let me marry Yum Yum tomorrow, and in a month you may behead me.
No. I draw the line at Yum Yum.
Very well, if you can draw the line, so can I.
Wait, stop. Just one moment, be reasonable. How can I consent to your marrying Yum Yum if I'm going to marry her myself?
My good man shall be a widow in a month, and you can marry her then.
Oh yes, I quite see that. Well then. But my position in the next month will be one that's most unpleasant.
Not half so unpleasant as my position at the end of it.
Oh yes. Well then I agree. But you won't prejudice her against me, will you? I've educated her to be my wife. She's been trained to regard me as a wise and good man. Now, I shouldn't like her views on that point disturbed.
Don't worry. She'll never learn the truth from me.
Ask you what you mean to do, we punctually appear.
Congratulate me, gentlemen, I found a volunteer.
The gentleman needs a faithful here.
'Tis Nanky Poo.
Hail Nanky Poo.
I think he'll do.
Yes, he'll do.
He yields his life if our Yum Yum surrender. Now I adore that girl with passion tender, and could not yield her with a ready will, or her a lot, if I did not adore myself with passion tender still. With passion tender still.
Ah, yes, he loves himself with passion tender still.
Take her, she's yours.
The threatened cloud has passed away. What though the night may come too soon?
Yet a month of afternoon.
Then let the throng our joy advance with laughing song and merry dance. Then let the throng our joy advance with laughing song and merry dance. With laughing song and merry dance. With laughing song.
Time comes much too soon.
Then let the throng our joy advance with laughing song and merry dance. And let the throng our joy advance with laughing song and merry dance. With laughing song and merry dance. With laughing song. Rejoice, shout, ring and cheer. Inaugurate the victory. Rejoice, shout, ring and cheer. Inaugurate the victory. Rejoice, shout, ring and cheer. Inaugurate the victory. Laughing song, merry dance. With laughing song and merry dance.
As in a month you've got to die if Coco tells us true. 'Twere empty compliment to cry long life to Nanky Poo. But as 1 month you'll have to live as fellow citizen. This toast with 3 times 3 will give long life. Long life to you. Long life to you. Long life to you. Till then.
Your rebel cease, assist me, all of you. I claim my perjured lover, Nanky Poo. Oh, fool to shun delights that never cloy. Come back, oh shallow fool, come back to joy.
Ah, 'tis Katisha, the maid of whom I told you.
No, you shall not go. These arms shall thus enfold you. Oh, fool that fleest my heart with joys, oh, blind that seest no equipoise. Oh, rash that judgest from half the whole. Oh, base that grudgest love's lightest dole. Thy heart unbind, oh fool, oh blind. Give me my place, oh rash, oh base. Thy heart unbind, give me my place, oh fool, oh blind, oh rash, oh base. Thy heart unbind, give me my place.
She's thy bride, restore her place. Oh fool, oh blind, oh rash, oh base.
Pink cheek that rulest where wisdom serves, bright eye that foolest heroic nerves, rose lip that scornest lore-laden years, smooth the tongue that warmest who rightly hears. Thy doom is nigh, pink cheek, bright eye. Thy nail is rung, rose lip, smooth tongue. Thy doom is nigh, thy nail is rung, pink cheek, bright eye, rose lip, smooth tongue. Thy doom is nigh, thy nail is rung.
Prosecute your quest from more intentions well expressed. You
cannot turn us. The state of your connubial view towards the person you accuse does not concern us. For he's going to marry Yum. Your anchor pray bury, for all will be merry. I think you had better succumb and join our expression of glee. On this subject we pray you be dumb. You'll find there are many who wed for a penny. The word of your guidance is mum. There's lots of good fish in the sea. On this subject we pray you be dumb. We think you had better succumb. You'll find there are many who wed for a penny. There are lots of good fish in the sea. There are lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea. The sea. Dead and gone in silent sadness, I live alone. The hope I cherished are lifeless lies, and all has perished. All has perished, save love, which never dies, which never dies. Oh, faithless one, this insult you shall rue. In vain for mercy, on your knees you'll sue. I'll tear the mask from your disguisings.
Now comes the blow.
Prepare yourselves for new surprisings.
How foil my foe?
No minstrel he, despite bravado. I know he is the son of your Mikado. In vain you interrupt with this tornado. He is the only son of your Mikado. I'll spoil your glad gambado. He is the son of your the son of David. Ye torrents roar, ye tempests howl, your wrath outpour with angry pow. Do ye your worst, my vengeance call, shall rise triumphant over all.
In the war, you only out to Troy, we saw you fight your scalp. The echoes of our festival shall rise triumphant over all.
Prepare for woe, ye haughty wards, at once I go, Mikado wards.
Away you go, collect your horse, convey your walls in dismal courts.
We do not heed the dismal sound,
For joy reigns everywhere around.
we do not heed the dismal sound, for joy reigns everywhere around. The echoes of our festival shall rise triumphant over all.
Shall rise triumphant
Triumphant
over all.
with downcast eye. Let it brim with dew. Try if you can cry. We will do so too. When your salmon start, like upright tender roe, flutter, little heart, color, come and go. Modesty at marriage tide well becomes a pretty bride. Modesty at marriage tide well becomes a pretty bride.
Yes, I am indeed beautiful. Sometimes I sit and wonder, in my modest Japanese way, why it is that I am so much more attractive than anyone else in the whole world. Can this be vanity? No, nature is lovely and rejoices in her loveliness. I am a child of nature, and take after my mother. The sun whose rays are all ablaze with ever-living glory does not deny his majesty, he scorns to tell a story. He won't exclaim, I blush for shame, so kindly be indulgent. But fierce and bold in fiery gold, he glories all effulgent. I mean to rule the earth as he the sky. We really know the sun and I mean to rule the earth as he the sky. We really know our worth, the sun and I. Observe his flame, that placid dame, the moon's celestial highness. There's not a trace upon her face of diffidence or shyness. She borrows light that through the night mankind may all acclaim her. And truth to tell, she lights up well, so I for one don't blame her. Ah, pray make no mistake, we are not shy. everything seems to smile upon me. I am to be married today to the man I love best. And I believe I am the very happiest girl in Japan.
The happiest girl indeed, for she is indeed to be envied who has achieved happiness in all but perfection.
All but perfection?
Well, dear, it can't be denied the fact that your husband is to be beheaded in a month is in its way a drawback. It does seem to take the top off it, you know.
I don't know about that. It all depends.
At all events, he will find it a drawback.
Not necessarily. Bless you, it all depends.
I think it very indelicate of you to refer to such a subject on such a day. If my married happiness is to be
Cut short?
cut short in a month, can't you let me forget it?
Yum Yum, in tears, and on her wedding morn.
You've been reminding me that in a month you're to be beheaded.
Yes, we've been reminding her that in a month you're to be beheaded.
It's quite true, you know. You are to be beheaded.
And some bridegrooms would be depressed by this sort of thing. A month? Well, what's a month? These divisions of time, they're purely arbitrary. Who says 24 hours make a day?
There is a popular impression to that effect.
Then we'll face it. We'll call each second a minute, each minute an hour, each hour a day, and each day a year. At that rate, we've about 30 years of married happiness before us.
And at that rate, this interview has lasted 4 hours and 3/4.
Wow, how time flies when one is thoroughly enjoying oneself.
That's the way to look at it. Don't let's be downhearted. There's a silver lining to every cloud.
Certainly. Let's be perfectly happy.
By all means, let's thoroughly enjoy ourselves. Excuse me.
It's absurd to cry.
Quite ridiculous.
Go on, don't mind me.
I'm afraid we're distressing you.
Oh, no, I must get used to it. Only, please do it by degrees. Begin by putting your arm around her. There, let me get used to that first.
Oh, wouldn't you like to retire? It must pain you to see us so affectionate together.
No, I must learn to bear it. Now, oblige me by allowing her head to rest on your shoulder.
Like that?
I'm much obliged to you. Now, kiss her. Oh, thank you. It's simple torture.
Come, bear up. After all, it's only for a month.
No, it's no use deluding oneself with false hopes.
What do you mean?
My dear child, how shall I break it to her? My little bride that was to have been.
Was to have been?
Yes, you never can be mine.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I've just ascertained that by the Mikado's law, when a man is beheaded, his wife is buried alive.
Buried alive?
Buried alive. It's a most unpleasant death.
But whom did you get that from?
Oh, from Poobah. He's my solicitor.
But he may be mistaken.
So I thought. So I consulted the Attorney General, the Lord Chief Justice, the Master of the Rolls, the Judge Ordinary, and the Lord Chancellor. They're all of the same opinion. Never knew such unanimity on a point of law in my life.
But stop a bit. These laws have never been put in force.
Not yet. You see, flirting is the only crime punishable with decapitation, and married men never flirt.
That's right. They don't. I quite forgot that. I suppose that I may take it that my dream of happiness is at an end?
Darling, I don't want to appear selfish, and I love you with all my heart. I don't think I could ever love anybody else ever half as much. But when I agreed to marry you, dearest, I had no idea, pet, that I should have to be buried alive in a month.
Nor I. It's the very first I've heard of it.
It does make a difference, doesn't it?
It does make a difference, of course.
You see, burial alive, it's such a stuffy death.
I call it a beast of a death.
You see my difficulty, don't you?
Yes, and I see my own. If I force you to carry out your promise, I doom you to a hideous death. If I release you, you marry Coco at once.
Here's a howdy-do, if I marry you. When your time has come to perish, then the maiden whom you cherish must be slaughtered too. Here's a howdy-do, here's a howdy-do.
Here's a pretty mess, in a month or less. I must die without a wedding. Let the bitter tears I'm shedding witness my distress. Here's a pretty mess, here's a pretty mess.
Here's the state of things. To her life she clings. Matrimonial devotion doesn't seem to suit her notion. Burial it brings. Here's the state of things. Here's the state of things.
With a passion that's intense, I worship and adore. But the laws of common sense we oughtn't to ignore. If what he says is true, 'tis death to marry you. Here's a pretty state of things. Here's a pretty howdy-do. Here's a pretty state of things. A pretty state of things.
Here's a howdy-do.
Here's a howdy-do.
Here's a howdy-do.
For if what he says is true, I cannot marry you. Here's a pretty, pretty state of things.
Here's a pretty howdy-do. My poor boy, I really am very sorry for you.
Thank you, my good fellow. I'm sure you are.
You see, I'm quite helpless.
I quite see that.
I can't conceive of anything more distressing than to have one's own marriage broken off at the last moment. But you shan't be disappointed of a wedding. You shall come to mine.
That's very kind of you, but I'm afraid that's impossible.
Oh, why so?
Because today I die.
Oh, no, stop this. You just... Why, you're under contract to die by the hands of the public executioner in a month's time. If you execute yourself and commit suicide, well, what's to become of me? Why, I shall have to be executed in your place.
It would certainly seem so.
Now then, Lord Mayor, what is it?
The Mikado and his suite are approaching the city and will be here in 10 minutes.
The Mikado?
Mikado.
He's coming to see whether his orders have been carried out. Oh, now listen here. This is getting serious. A bargain's a bargain, and you really mustn't frustrate the ends of justice by committing suicide. As a man of honor and a gentleman, you are bound to die ignominiously by the hands of the public executioner.
Very well, then. Behead me.
What? Now?
Certainly, now.
But chop it off, chop it off! My dear sir, I don't go about prepared to execute gentlemen at a moment's notice. Why, I've never even killed an albino squirrel.
But still, as Lord High Executioner...
As Lord High Executioner, I've got to behead him in a month. I'm not ready yet. I don't know how it's done. I mean to take lessons. I'm going to start with a guinea pig and work my way through the animal kingdom till I come to his second trombone. Why, you don't suppose that as a humane man I would have accepted the post of Lord High Executioner if I hadn't thought his duties purely nominal? I can't kill you. I can't kill anything. I can't kill anybody.
Come, my good fellow. We all have unpleasant duties to discharge at times. After all, what is it? Sooner or later it must be done.
Must it? I'm not so sure about that.
What do you mean?
Why should I kill you when making an affidavit that you've been executed will do just as well? Here are plenty of witnesses. The Lord Chief Justice, the Lord High Admiral, Commander-in-Chief, First Commissioner of Police, Secretary of State for the Home Department, and Chief Commissioner of Police.
But where are they?
Oh, they're there. There they are. They'll all swear to it, won't you?
Am I to understand that all these high officers of the state are to perjure themselves, To ensure your safety,
You'll be grossly insulted as usual.
will the insult be at a date or cash down?
It will be a ready money transaction.
It could be a useful discipline. Very well, choose your fiction and I'll endorse it. Family pride. How do you like that, my buck?
But I tell you that life without Yum Yum.
Oh, yum, 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 yum. Bother Yum Yum. Here, Commissioner, go and fetch Yum Yum. Take Yum Yum and marry Yum Yum. Only go away and never come back again. Oh, here she is now. Yum Yum, are you particularly busy?
Not particularly.
You 5 minutes to spare?
Yes.
Oh, good. Then go along with His Grace, the Archbishop of Titipu. He'll marry you at once.
But if I'm to be buried alive...
Oh, now don't ask any questions, but do as I tell you, and Nanki-Poo will explain all.
But one moment.
Not for worlds. Here comes the Mikado. No doubt to ascertain whether I've obeyed his decree. If he finds you alive, I shall have the greatest difficulty in persuading him that I've beheaded you. Oh, close thing that, for here he comes.
From every kind of man obedience I expect. I'm the Emperor of Japan.
And I'm his daughter-in-law elect. He'll marry his son. He's only got one to his daughter-in-law elect.
My morals have been declared particularly correct.
But they're nothing at all compared with those of his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
In a kind and fatherly manner I govern each tribe and sect. I'll cheerfully own my sway.
Except his daughter-in-law elect. As tough as a bone with a will of her own is his daughter-in-law elect.
My nature is love and light, my freedom from all defect.
But it's insignificant quite compared with his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
humane Mikado never did in Japan exist. To nobody second, I'm certainly reckoned a true philanthropist. It is my very humane endeavor to make, to some extent, each evil liver a running river of harmless merriment. My object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment. The careless people who text and drive while going about the town will with a Range Rover their thumbs be run over and forced to laugh aloud. The lazy messers and sloppy dressers who wear the shoes without socks will be executed and justly refuted for wearing silly crocs. The impudent students who thus lack prudence and fall asleep in class shall be awakened and then be taken, and never ere shall pass. The people who take the elevators from first to second floor will widen their eyes and be most surprised as their head slams in the door. My object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
His object all sublime, he shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
I am honored in being permitted to welcome your majesty. I guess the object of your majesty's visit, your wishes have been attended to. The execution has taken place.
Oh, you've had an execution, have you?
Yes, the coroner has just handed me his certificate.
I am the coroner.
Ah, and this is the certificate of his death. In Titipoo, in the presence of the Lord Mayor, the Lord High Chancellor, the Lord of the Exchequer, the Lord of the second floor front.
They were all there, your majesty. I counted them myself.
Very good, House. I wish I had been in time for the performance.
He was a man of gigantic strength. His struggles were terrific. It was really a remarkable scene.
Describe it.
The criminal cried as he dropped him down in a state of wild alarm. With a frightful, frantic, fearful frown, I bared my big right arm. I seized him by his little pigtail as on his knees fell he. As he squirmed and struggled and gurgled and guggled, I drew my snicker-snee, my snicker-snee. Oh, never shall I forget the cry or the shriek that shrieked he. As I gnashed my teeth when from its sheath I drew my snicker-snee.
He shivered and shook as he gave the sign for the stroke he did not deserve. When all of a sudden his eyes met mine, and it seemed to brace his nerve. For he nodded his head and kissed his hand and whistled an air, did he? As the saber true struck cleanly through his cervical vertebrae. His vertebrae. When a man's afraid, a beautiful maid is a cheering sight to see. And it's, oh, I'm glad that moment sad was soothed by sight of me.
Now though you'd have said this head was dead, for its owner dead was he. It stood on its neck with a smile well bred, and bowed 3 times to me. It was none of your impudent off-hand nods, but as humble as could be. For it clearly knew the deference due to a man of pedigree. Of pedigree. And it's, oh, I vow, this deathly bow was a touching sight to see. Though trunkless yet, it couldn't forget the deference due to me. It's all to you, he speaks the truth, they heard he might in praise. And in this case, it all took place exactly as he said. Exactly, 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 exactly as he
said. All this is very interesting, and I should have liked to have seen it. But we came about a totally different matter. A year ago, my son, the heir to the throne of Japan, bolted from our imperial court.
Indeed. Had he any reason to be dissatisfied with his position?
None whatever. On the contrary, I was going to marry him, yet he fled.
I'm surprised he would have fled from one so lovely.
That's not true.
No.
You hold that I am not beautiful because my face is plain. But you know nothing. Learn, then, that it is not in the face alone that beauty is to be sought. My face is unattractive.
It is.
But I have a left shoulder blade that is a miracle of loveliness. People come miles around to see it. My right elbow holds a fascination few can resist.
Allow me.
It is on view Tuesdays and Fridays on presentation of visiting card.
And yet he fled.
And is now masquerading as a second trombone.
A second trombone?
Yes. Would it be too much for me to ask you to produce him? He goes by the name of...
Nanky-Poo.
Oh, yes, it's quite easy. That is, it's rather difficult. In point of fact, he's gone abroad.
Gone abroad? His address?
Fort Pickens on the beach.
Oh!
What's the matter?
See here his name, Nanky-Poo. Beheaded this morning.
Oh.
Where shall I find another? Where shall I find another?
Oh, my. This is very tiresome. My dear fellow, in your anxiety to carry out my wishes, you have effectively beheaded the heir to the throne of Japan.
I beg to offer an unqualified apology.
I desire to associate myself with that expression of regret.
We really hadn't the least notion.
Of course you hadn't. How could you? Oh, don't worry, my friend. There's no need to fret. It was no fault of yours. If a man of exalted rank decides to disguise himself as a second trombone, he really must be prepared to face the consequences. It really disheartens me to see you carry on so. I've no doubt he thoroughly deserved all he got.
Oh, we are infinitely obliged to your majesty.
Much obliged, Your Majesty.
Very much obliged, Your Majesty.
Obliged? Don't mention it. How could you tell?
We really couldn't have known.
It wasn't written on his forehead, you know.
It might have been on his pocket handkerchief, but Japanese don't have pocket handkerchiefs.
You know, I have forgotten the punishment compassing the death of the heir apparent.
Punishment?
Yes, something lingering with boiling oil in it, I fancy. Something of that sort. I think boiling oil occurs into it, but I'm not sure. I know it's humorous, but lingering with either boiling oil or melted lead. However, there's no need to fret. I'm not a bit angry.
If your majesty will accept our assurance, we had no idea.
Of course.
I knew nothing about it.
I wasn't there.
That's the unfortunate part of it. Unfortunately, that fool of an act says, compassing the death of the heir apparent. There's not a word about a mistake.
No.
Or not knowing.
No.
Or having no notion.
No.
Or not being there.
No.
There should be, of course.
Yes.
But there isn't. Oh. However, there's no need to worry. I'll have it altered. Next session. Now, let's talk about your execution, shall we? Well, after luncheon suit you. Can you wait until then?
Yes.
We can wait until then.
Well, perfect. After luncheon it is.
I don't want any lunch.
I really am very sorry for you all. But that's the way that things are, and virtue is only triumphant in theatrical performances.
Well, a fine mess you've got us into, with your nodding head and indifference to a man of pedigree.
Merely corroborative detail to give artistic verisimilitude to an otherwise boring and unconvincing narrative.
Corroborative detail indeed. Corroborative fiddlesticks.
You're just as bad as he is, with your catching his eye and his whistling in air. What's just like you? You must put in your oar.
Well, how about you and your big right arm?
Yes, and your snicker sneak.
Well, that doesn't matter right now. There's only one thing to be done. Nanki-Poo hasn't started yet. He must be brought back to life again at once. Oh, here it is now. Nanki-Poo, I've good news for you. You're reprieved.
But it's too late. I'm a dead man, and I'm off for my honeymoon.
Nonsense! A terrible thing has just happened. It seems you're the son of the Mikado.
Yes, but that happened quite some time ago.
Is this a time for airy persiflage? Your father is here, and with Katishaw.
My father? And with Katishaw?
Yes, he wants you particularly.
So does she.
Oh, but he's married now.
But bless my heart, what has that to do with it?
Katishaw claims me in marriage, but I can't marry Katishaw because I'm married already. Consequently, she will, insist on my execution. And if I am to be executed, my wife is to be buried alive.
You see our difficulty.
Yes, I don't know what's to be done.
There's one chance for you. If you could persuade Katishaw to marry you, she would have no further claim on me, and I could come to life again without having ever fear of being put to death.
I marry Katishaw?
I really think it's the only choice.
But my dear girl, have you seen her? She's something appalling.
Yes, but that's only her face. She has a left elbow that people come miles to see.
I hear her right heel is much admired by connoisseurs.
My good sir, I decline to pin my heart on any woman's right heel.
It comes to this. While Katishaw is single, I prefer to be a disembodied spirit. When Katisha is married, existence will be as welcome as the flowers that bloom in the spring.
Alone and yet alive. Oh, sepulcher, my soul is still my body's prisoner. Remote the peace that death alone can give. My doom to wait, my punishment to live. Hearts do not break, they sting and ache, for old love's sake, but do not die. Though with each breath they long for death, as witnesseth the living eye, the living eye. Oh, living eye, come tell me why, when hope is gone, dost thou stay on? Why linger here where all is drear? Oh, living eye, tell me why, when hope is gone, dost thou stay on? May not a cheated maiden die? May not a cheated maiden
Katisha?
the miscreant who robbed me of my love. But vengeance pursues, they're heating the cauldron.
Katisha, behold, a suppliant at your feet. Katisha, mercy!
Mercy? Had you mercy on him? See here, you have slain my love. He did not love me, but he would have in time. I'm an acquired taste. Only the educated palate can appreciate me. I was educating his palate when he left me. But he is dead. And where shall I find another? It takes years to train a man to love me. Am I to go through the weary round all over again, and at the same time employ mercy for you who robbed me of my prey, I mean my pupil, just as his education was on the point of completion? Where shall I find another?
Here!
What?
Katisha, for years I have loved you with a white, hot passion that is slowly but surely consuming my very vitals. Shrink not from me. If there is aught of a woman's mercy in your heart, turn not away from a lovesick suppliant whose every fiber thrills at your tiniest touch. True it is that behind a poor mask of disgust, I have endeavored to conceal a passion whose inner fires are broiling the soul within me. But the fires will not be smothered. They defy all attempts at extinction and breaking forth all the more eagerly for its long restraint. It declares itself in words which it cannot be weighed, that cannot be schooled, that should not be too severely criticized. Catashaw, I dare not hope for your love, but I will not live without it. Darling!
You, whose hands still wick with the blood of my betrothed, dare to address words of passion to the woman whom you have so foully wronged?
I do. Accept my love or I perish on the spot.
Ha! Who knows so well as I that no one ever yet died of a broken heart?
You know not what you me say. Listen. On a tree by a river, a little tomtit sang willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. And I said to him, Dickie bird, why do you sit singing willow, tit, willow, tit, willow? Is it weakness of intellect, birdie, I cried, or a rather tough worm in your little inside? With a poor little shake of his head, he replied, oh, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. He slapped at his chest as he sat on that bough, singing willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. And a cold perspiration bespangled his brow. Oh, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. He sobbed and he sighed, and a gurgle he gave. Then he plunged himself into the billowy wave. And an echo arose from the suicide's grave. Oh, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. And now I feel just as sure as I'm sure that my name isn't Willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. That was blighted affection that made him exclaim, oh, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. And if you remain callous and obdurate, I shall perish as he did, and you will know why. Though I probably shall not exclaim as I die. Oh, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow.
Did he really die of love?
He really did.
All on account of a cruel little hen?
Yes.
Poor little chap.
It's an affecting tale and really quite true. I knew the bird intimately.
Did you? He must have been very fond of her.
Oh, he was.
And if I refuse you, will you go and do the same?
At once.
Oh, no, you mustn't do that. Anything but that. I am a silly little goose.
You are.
And you won't hate me because I'm just a little teeny weeny wee bit bloodthirsty, will you?
Oh, Catishaw, hate you? Is there not beauty even in bloodthirstiness?
My thoughts exactly.
Now then, we've had a capital lunch and we're quite ready. Have all the painful preparations been made?
Your Majesty, all has been prepared.
Excellent. Then produce the unfortunate gentleman and his two well-meaning but misguided accomplices.
Mercy! 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 Mercy for Coco! Mercy for Pity Sing! Mercy even for Pooba!
I beg your pardon? I don't believe I caught that last remark.
Mercy even for Pooba.
My husband that was to have been is dead. And I have just married this miserable creature.
Oh, you haven't been long about it?
We were married before the registrar.
I am the registrar.
I see. But the unfortunate part of it is that as you have slain the heir apparent...
The heir apparent is not slain.
Oh, bless my heart, my son.
And your daughter-in-law elected.
Traitor! You have deceived me!
My good fellow, I do believe that you owe us quite the explanation, but I think you will give it better in whole than in pieces.
Your Majesty, it's like this. You see, it is true that I said I had killed Nanky Poo.
Yes, with most affecting particulars.
Oh, many corroborative details to give artistic verisimilitude to an otherwise boring and unconvincing narrative.
Will you refrain from putting in your oar? It's like this. When Your Majesty says, let a thing be done, that thing's as good as done. Practically, it is done, because Your Majesty's will is law. Your Majesty says, kill a gentleman, and a gentleman is told off to be killed. Consequently, that gentleman is as good as dead. Practically, he is dead. And if he is dead, why not say so?
I see. Well, nothing could possibly be more satisfactory.
Young. Your anger pray bury, for all will be merry. I think you had better succumb and join our expression of glee.
On this subject I pray you be dumb. Your notions, though many, are not worth a penny. The word for your guidance is bum. You've a very good bargain in me.
On this subject we pray you be dumb, dumb, dumb. We think you had better succumb, come. You find there are many who went for a penny, who went for a penny. There's lots of good fish in the sea, there are lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea, in the sea, in the sea, in the sea, in the sea.
The threatened cloud has passed away. But though the night may come too soon,
Years and years of afternoon.
then let the throng joy and dance with laughing song and merry dance, and let the throng our joy and dance with laughing song and merry dance with laughing song.